Come on now. Why not be great? Why not be legendary?
Minshew looking, throws intercepted by Surtain. Pat Surtain on the run. Nobody's gonna catch him. Surtain going all the way for a Denver touchdown.
Two corners who played in two different eras with one gold standard. In the 2000s, Champ Bailey erased wide receiver ones, T.O. couldn't shake him, Randy Moss barely touched him, and Chad Johnson called him the toughest cover of his life. Now it's happening again, and it's in Denver. Pat Surtain isn't just following Champ's blueprint for greatness, he might be surpassing it. Even Bailey himself sees it.
The kid can play, man. He's going to be one of the all-time greats here.
That's more than just fan hype. That's a first ballot Hall of Famer passing the torch. So here's the question. Is Pat Surtain already the better corner, or are we about to get torched in the comments by even asking the question? Well, let's break it down. So before the football world was asking if Pat Surtain could end up the greatest cornerback in NFL history, there was another guy named Champ Bailey who had sparked the same conversations in the 2000s.
Champ Bailey! Oh, he's a heck of a player. He might be better on offense than he is defense.
Drafted 7th overall out of Georgia in 1999, Champ was more than just a first-round pick. He was the prototype, with elite feet, fluid hips, and recovery speed that erased bad angles. And from day one, he took wide receiver 1 assignments. Every week, no excuses. By the time he was done, Bailey had racked up 12 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pro honors, and 52 career interceptions. But the real story was the fear factor he brought, because Champ wasn't happy just covering wide receivers. He didn't stop until he had erased them. T.O., Randy Moss, and Chad Johnson. Anyone and everyone who lined up against him failed. And in 2006, the legend of Champ Bailey was crystallized. That year, Champ turned in one of the most absurd coverage seasons the NFL has ever seen. 35 targets, 10 picks, and 4 total catches allowed. Now, that's not a typo. That's domination. Quarterbacks barely threw his way because when they did, they got picked. Offensive coordinators would redraw their game plans on Friday just to avoid number 24. Quarterbacks came to the line, saw Champ lined up, and immediately looked the other way. Coaches didn't scheme help over the top because they didn't need to. Champ didn't need a safety net. He was the safety net. If you were a wide receiver 1 in the 2000s, you circled the Denver game on your calendar for one reason: to survive it. Because Champ Bailey made it his mission to do more than just shadow receivers. He made sure they never showed up in the box score. But what if that level of dominance is happening again right now? Time will tell, but for now, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to help us on the channel.
Let's do it. Hey, all day. Great eyes, great technique. Yes, sir.
So what does it actually take to be untouchable at cornerback? Because playing cornerback isn't just about speed or ball skills, it's about leverage, disguise, anticipation, and mental warfare. So let's start with the technique. Both Champ Bailey and Pat Surtain built their game on mirror footwork. Press at the line, no wasted steps, and smooth hip flips. Oh, and recovery speed that makes bad throws turn into turnovers. But footwork alone isn't what separates them. It's the IQ, the ability to recognize route stems, understand split assignments, and bait quarterbacks into thinking a receiver is open when they're not. Champ was a master of disguising bail technique. He'd play off and let you think the comeback was there, then break downhill like he knew the route before you did. And with Pat Surtain, it's a different decade, but with the same sickness. Against guys like Devontae Adams and DJ Moore, Surtain didn't just survive. He won the war by controlling the release point, staying attached at the hip, and playing the pocket with surgical timing. Both guys did something rare for their eras. They forced quarterbacks to eliminate half the field before the snap even started. When Champ played, offenses changed their game plan, and now they're forced to do the same thing with Pat Surtain. Shadow coverage, elite recovery, route recognition. These are two corners in two eras with one blueprint for a lockdown corner.
You know, the capacity to be extremely physical and a ball hawk out there defensively. He is so reminiscent of Champ Bailey. It's kind of crazy.
When the Broncos drafted Patrick Surtain II, 9th overall in 2021, they got a hell of a lot more than a top-ranked corner. They inherited a legacy. The son of a 3-time Pro Bowler, Surtain arrived with technique beyond his years. And by year 2, he wasn't just meeting expectations, he was shattering them.
Who's the toughest defender you've ever gone up against personally?
I mean, outside of Slay every day, I would probably say Pat Surtain.
In 2022, he shadowed wide receiver ones on 72% of his coverage snaps. That's top 5 in the NFL. And despite drawing top receivers weekly, he still allowed just 6.6 yards per target. That's not cornerback 2 work. That's number 1 corner on every down every week against the league's best. And then came 2023. No sophomore slump, no regression. Surtain allowed just 44.7 receiving yards per game, a 51.3% completion percentage allowed when targeted, and a coverage grade from PFF of 87.5. The highest among all corners that season. Ask DJ Moore and Davante Adams. They all ran their best routes. They all got nothing. NFL analysts started saying it out loud. Surtain plays like he's already seen the route before it started.
You want a guy that can play off coverage, he can play off, he can play press, he can tackle. His technically sound. Probably the top 5 corner almost the day he entered the league.
The footwork, the length, the timing at the catch point, it's all textbook, but the attitude? Well, that's pure Champ Bailey DNA. Surtain doesn't celebrate after breakups. He doesn't flex after locking down a Pro Bowler. He just resets and does it again. Week after week, assignment after assignment. He's built a resume that most corners don't touch until year 6, and he's been doing it since he came into the league. So here's the dilemma. If this is what Surtain looks like now, what happens when the next champ starts to surpass the original? Here's where Surtain's dominance doesn't just wreck offensive coordinators, it wrecks fantasy teams too. Because when your wide receiver 1 draws Denver, your Sunday gets real stressful real fast. Let's talk numbers. In 2023, wide receivers lined up against Pat Surtain II averaged just 44.7 receiving yards per game. And this wasn't against wide receiver 3s or slot guys. We're talking about Davante Adams and Stephon Diggs. They were all shadowed and all silenced.
5 in the secondary. That was intended for Adams. There's Surtain again. My goodness.
Let's rewind to week 4 of 2023. DJ Moore entered the game projected for a little over 17 fantasy points. He finished with 3.1. He had 1 catch and 1 broken fantasy lineup, and this wasn't a one-off. Across the season, wide receivers projected for big weeks versus Denver routinely fell 30 to 50% below their Fantasy Pros projections. Why? Well, because offensive coordinators aren't dumb. They know where Surtain is lined up, and they don't want a part of it. Quarterbacks flat out stopped targeting his side of the field. It became a weekly debate for fantasy managers. Do you really want to start your wide receiver 1 against Denver knowing Surtain's going to be glued to him for 80% of the snaps? Reddit threads, Twitter debates, start-sit meltdowns every Sunday morning. And when fantasy playoff time hits in week 15 through 17, it just brings more heartbreak for opposing managers, because Surtain saved his best work for when your season was on the line. So here's the takeaway. If your fantasy wide receiver draws Denver in December, you're not just playing the Broncos defense, you're playing in Pat Surtain's shadow all day long, and statistically, you're probably losing. So let's have the conversation. Champ versus Surtain, the gold standard versus the new model. Now, if we line them up age for age, the numbers tell part of the story. By age 23, Champ Bailey had already racked up 13 interceptions and 39 pass breakups, while starting every single game for Washington over 3 seasons. Meanwhile, Surtain, through his first 3 years, sits at 6 interceptions and 30 pass breakups with 1 less target volume overall. But here's the curveball. Champ played in a low pass volume era. From 2000 to 2005, NFL offenses averaged just over 30 pass attempts per game. Fewer routes to cover, fewer shots taken downfield. It was more run-heavy and West Coast style offenses. Meanwhile, Surtain's playing in a league where quarterbacks air it out over 34 times a game on average, with wide open spacing, stacked route combinations, and offensive rules tilted toward the receiver. And yet, he's still producing elite coverage numbers against wide receiver 1s in man coverage every single week. Then there's the tape. Champ was a master technician. His hip flip, his downhill burst, his ability to bait quarterbacks and close on the ball. That's Hall of Fame stuff. But Surtain, his mirroring footwork, his patient press technique, and his ability to recover without panicking, that's textbook for this era against this kind of route volume.
So patient at the line, bro. Yeah. He waiting on me to go so we can hit my ass.
And when you factor in Surtain's PFF grades, at age 23 he earned an 87.5 overall coverage grade, ranking number 1 among all NFL corners in 2023. Champ never graded under PFF, but by today's advanced metrics, Surtain's already putting up all-decade level tape this early in his career. The debate gets even messier when you zoom out. Champ dominated when elite corners were rare. Darrelle Revis and Richard Sherman weren't even in the league yet. There were maybe 2 or 3 true shutdown guys in the league at any given time. Surtain's doing this in an era flooded with pass-happy offenses against receivers like Adams, Tyreek, Chase, and Diggs. Every single week feels like a Pro Bowl matchup. So what's the verdict? One erased wide receiver ones when it was rare, and the other's doing it in a league that lives off the pass. That's 2 different eras and 2 different offensive environments with one shared legacy of lockdown. But the craziest part is, Surtain is just getting started. Champ Bailey set the standard. 12 Pro Bowls, dozens of wide receivers erased, a gold jacket, a bust in Canton, and a legacy as one of the most technically flawless corners to ever play the position. And now Pat Surtain is raising the bar again. He's already a first-team All-Pro, already locking down All-Pro wide receivers, and already forcing quarterbacks and fantasy managers to rethink their game plans every week. Even Champ sees it.
The sky's the limit for him. He can have a Hall of Fame career, and he's on his way.
The respect is real, the handoff is happening, and if Surtain keeps the pace, keeps stacking shutdown seasons, and keeps shadowing wide receiver ones and making them vanish, he won't just match Champ Bailey's legacy. He'll redefine what lockdown means for a new generation. So here's the question: Champ Bailey in his prime or Pat Surtain II today? Drop your answer below, and if you love GOAT debates, legacy breakdowns, and NFL storytelling that goes deeper than just stats, make your snap count and like the video. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time, because on this channel, we count every snap.